We had an incredible giving season. It still is not at the pace that we need it to be for our growth.
So what's next for Matthew's Hope in 2026?
Finally getting our transitional housing built in Brevard.
I mean, we were just talking about the sleeper buses. That's big.
And how are the sleeper bus programs expanding this year?
A lot of it's going to depend on municipalities that welcome us in.
Okay. When it comes right down to it, people don't really want a shelter, but they also don't want homeless people on the street. So what's the solution? So many times I feel like our public officials want to call out what's wrong, but don't want to call out the solution.
The challenge you have is people that support things like caring for the homeless are a very compassionate, quiet crowd. The people that are against it are very loud and verbal and typically have means that a lot of people don't have.
And how are you planning to adapt to the changing demographics of homelessness in 2026?
Same way we always have. We just shift. We are really good at Matthew's Hope shifting.
Over 35% of all first-time homeless people, first time being homeless, registering with us, is a baby boomer. If somebody ever were to do a study on Matthew's Hope, they would clearly understand quickly that I am not qualified to do this, and it was a God thing.
Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Lewis with Imagine Marketing, and I'm joined by Pastor Scott, who is the founder and CEO of Matthew's Hope, as well as Shelley Bradford, who is the president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. This podcast is produced and filmed and edited by John Burkett with Imagine. Welcome to this week's episode of Street Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing. At Imagine Marketing, we put in the extra effort to craft a tailored strategy for success. Please book a free consultation today. In this episode, we will be taking a look ahead at what 2026 may have in store for Matthew's Hope and what Matthew's Hope has in store for their guests. But before we go any further, does anyone want to share their New Year's resolution? Do you do New Year's resolutions?
I really have never done New Year's resolutions, but what I will say in 2025, 2024, and even 2023, I really put my health as a more of a priority, because all my adult life, I've always taken care of everybody else but myself. And so the last couple of years, I've really put my health as a priority. That if to be funny, I could say maybe no surgeries this year would be fantastic.
Yes.
I think I have all the bionic parts I would like. And
you can only go so fast.
Yeah,
you have to leave it for other people.
Right. And then Darren and I when we first got married, we were runners. And then we moved into CrossFit, and we kind of took a break through my surgeries and some of the health things that we were dealing with with him as well. So we've talked about going back to CrossFit, something that we really miss. So that's probably the closest I'm going to come to a New Year's resolution.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, I don't necessarily pick one resolution either. It's more like a broad thing. And I think for 2026, I really just want to be more present and kind of slow down in the moments that matter when I'm with people or when they ask me questions, and not just quickly answer it and move on, but to really just take time with people and the ones that I love.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned before, we just never know, and life is so short.
Yeah.
Because
How about you, Scott?
Charlie and I were talking about this. We're going to continue to drive by places like CrossFits and places to work out and say, that's someplace I'm never going to be in. I've been driving hard for a long time. I kept waiting for like an opening, a level spot for just to kind of slow down a little bit with Matthew's Hope. And I don't see that happening because we got so many things on the plate this year. However, this past year, Charlie and I took several 5-day weekends, and I think that was really good for my mental health because I'm so fully invested in Matthew's Hope that sometimes that's not always the healthiest thing, because I'll keep going.
Yeah.
And I don't like making promises I can't keep. And, I'm always racing towards another deadline.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to kind of also be able to enjoy a little bit more of the ministry part of Matthew's Hope. Towards the end of this past year, I really had I took the time to spend some time with some of our guests on a personal level, and it was really fulfilling to me and reminded me why I started this 16 years ago. And so, I mentioned, one of our past podcasts, about coming to terms with life being so short. And, I can't stop the clock from ticking. What I can do is try to make sure that while it ticks, that I'm doing things that I truly find fulfilling, and encourage other people to do the same. What I'll tell people is there will never be enough money. There will never be enough time. There will be never enough of whatever to get to that place where you think, okay, now I can take a break, or now I can do something. You just got to kind of just do it.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. If that's for you going out and just sitting on the back porch quietly, then so be it. If that's you taking a trip to Europe, then so be it. But I do think it's important that we take the time. And again, just being grateful for that time, because again, for us, we live in the middle of dysfunction, other people's dysfunction and crisis and trauma every day. And you can't help but take some of that on and take it home with you. And I think it's real important. Charlene and I were just talking about some of our staff members, really encourage them to, if you're not going to take vacation, then take some long weekends and try to make that a priority for them, because, really since the pandemic, we've really never slowed down.
Right.
And looking forward this year with launching, finally getting our transitional housing built in Brevard, launching the full launch of the sleeper bus program throughout Brevard and then Orange County. There's so much that's going to require our time that I think it's real important that even if you just take that extra day, and whatever that means to you. Some people, it's a book, in a nook.
Yep.
Right.
It's not me. I'm dyslexic. You don't want me. I mean, I can't get through a book, but
take those moments.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Thanksgiving through Christmas is considered the season of giving. Charity is on the top of people's minds, but now it is January, start of the new year. What is your message to those people that felt so warm and fuzzy about helping their favorite charities during the season of giving?
Please keep continuing to feel warm and fuzzy, because we are still here. We're still here. Yeah. We still need the help. We still need the donations. We still need you. We can't do this without our donors, for sure.
That's a good message.
And things are like, we've said it before, things have been very different last couple of years. Though we had an incredible giving season, it still is not at the pace that we need it to be for our growth. And when I say that, our growth is not something we control. Yes, we can control whether we take on a project or something like that, but even those projects are driven by
the need. Yeah.
So it's not like, some people say, oh, was this, what's your 5-year plan, or what's this? There's never been a plan. It really has been love God, love his people, allow Matthew 25 to be at the forefront of your thinking. And outside of that there was no grand plan. And so I still don't have one. And I finally quit telling the staff, okay, I think I'm going to stop for a little while.
Yeah.
Because every time I said that to them,
it got bigger.
And within not even months, within weeks, all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're going to do this. And they're looking at me, well, didn't you say we're going to, it's driven by need. And so, I think the thing we're going to concentrate on for my big thing is I'm kind of the guy who tries to raise the money. And I think, even a greater focus on sustaining donors, encouraging people to make a monthly commitment that doesn't really affect their life in any way. Sometimes it's giving up. I mean, if most of us gave up a coffee a week, if you're going through Starbucks or something, or Dunkin' Donuts,
$10 right there.
Well, and you did that, and you say you made a $40, $50 commitment a month and gave up that coffee for just one week, you put it together, you got a $50 donation a month. That's $600 a year to Matthew's Hope.
Right.
And, when you look at a $15 million budget, what's 600? Well, if everybody was doing 600, I get to that 15 million pretty quick.
Right. Sorry.
So it's do what you can, not what you can't. I mean, it's been interesting over the last few years for staff members say to me, because I started Matthew's Hope often saying, do what you can, not what you can't, but do something. And when we hit that place where it's like, we can't do this.
Mhm.
We don't have the resource or whatever. You know, it was funny because Kimmy Sue, Kim Thompson, who been with us for years, she'll sit there and she'll go look at me in the eye and she'll put her hand on my hand. She'll go, do what you can, not what you can't.
Oh.
And just kind of remind me of that, because again, we want to conquer the world in a big way for the sake of the kingdom.
Yeah.
And I think we're doing that. But the other side of it is we're also not in control of that.
Yeah.
You know, and when people, again, the negative side come after you for that, you know, then you hit this place where you hear the voices of, well, you're not doing enough, you're doing too little, you're not doing it the right way. And so I just sit there, do what you can, not what you can't, and allow God through the Holy Spirit to lead us through that. And, you know, I've said before, I'm not a religious guy, but I believe that stuff. And if somebody ever were to do a study on Matthew's Hope, they would clearly understand quickly that I am not qualified to do this. And it was a God thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
I love that. Do what you can, not what you can. So what's next for Matthew's Hope in 2026?
Well, I mean, we were just talking about the sleeper buses. That's big. That's real big.
And can you remind everybody what the sleeper bus is? What is its purpose?
So it's essentially, we were initially calling it a Greyhound bus, but it's essentially a large bus that we've actually had converted into an RV, and it sleeps 20 people. There is a bathroom on board, but we prefer to not use it because you know what happens when you're traveling in a bus or on a plane, and you know there's just not.
She is so much nice. Look, it's like pooping in a tin can. Don't do it, okay?
She's so prim and
Yeah, she really is good. Yeah. But
so we would really like to find. You just made me lose my train of thought.
more hosts.
More hosts. Thank you. To more hosts where we can actually park the buses where our guests could actually go in and use the bathroom and not
Makes more sense.
poop in a can.
Yeah. Good job.
There, I
You
said it.
said it. And can you remind people what the goal of these buses are? Obviously to sleep, but why is that important?
Yeah, as soon as I'm done processing, my dear friend over here, who the other day I saw the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and a lot of people don't know this, but that was her dream, is to be a Dallas.
You look like a Dallas Cowboy
she does, doesn't she?
cheerleader.
You know, and
I didn't even
she
think of that
could
before
pull it
she
off.
does.
She could pull it off, but that was her
Yes, she
dream.
could.
And so when I hear that, and then I hear her say something like that, I always say, and then she kind of whispers it out. I just get a kick out of it. And saying, don't poop in the can there. Everything was very methodical. You know, there has been sleeper buses done before us here in the United States and Europe and other places, or versions of it. You know, I think what separates what we're going to do with it is it moves from different locations. It will only come back to the same location, typically 3 nights in a row. We come in, literally, we have areas that we pick up from. A reservation has been made first, okay? You can stay for up to 3 nights, okay? But what happens is we pick up in a couple different locations, then we park it at an undisclosed location for the night. Okay. We come in at nightfall. We leave as the sun's coming up. We drop everybody back off where we found them. We take it back to home base, if you will, where the sheets are changed, disinfected, the whole 9 yards, any kind of restocking we need to do, prepare it for the next night. And it really is that simple. It's, I'm not even calling them shelter buses because we're not really sheltering people other than you could call it emergency shelter. Mm-hmm. And it really was in direct response to HB 1365 becoming law, making it illegal to really be homeless, sleep outside. To show how extreme that is, right before the end of the year, we had 2 of our guys that were 2 of our older men. They're both, one's a veteran, the other one's not, but they're both about early 70s. And both had been arrested for camping in Cocoa Beach. In fact, what they were doing is they were sitting on a bench and fell asleep. So we got charged for public camping. Okay, that's one charge. Then they gave him a second charge, which I never heard this, and I thought Charlene was joking with me. Camping paraphernalia.
And what does that
mean? As a drug addict, I know what drug paraphernalia is.
Yeah.
But I thought she was messing with me and go, what the hell? What? And she goes, yeah, they're charged. The second charge is camping paraphernalia. I said, well, what is that? She goes, well, it could be, and she starts listing things off, but the first one was a blanket.
What?
A blanket. So now when he goes to jail, he's fined for the camping in public and then additional fine for camping paraphernalia. Whatever cold-hearted SOB came up with that one, that's cold-blooded. That's cold-hearted. I don't know how anybody could hold their head up high. And certainly if you're showing up in church, I want to be there because I want to watch you burst into flames. I mean, that is just insane. And it's a real thing. And what happens then is that these people can't pay those fines.
Right.
They get pulled over again. And now they have what's called a warrant for their arrest for not paying the fine. Okay. So, you're seeing this crazy thing. So the idea behind the bus was giving you 3 nights of climate controlled, safe rest with no fear of incarceration. The other reason we used 3 nights was we have just at both locations, we have over 2,000 registered guests. And, with all 4 buses, that's only 80 beds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So giving a lot of people opportunity. And the third one was that scientifically it's been proven that when your body clock is off, you've not had the proper rest. It takes 3 days to reset the body clock.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And these people, because sometimes they're being woken up 2 and 3 times at night, told to move on, they're not getting a solid night's rest. And so they're just exhausted, which creates other health issues that we're seeing, and we're seeing a lot of. So that's the thinking behind it, is in response to that. By no means do we expect that this is going to end homelessness or be the answer to homelessness.
Right.
We look at it as a stepping stone, one, to additional services we can provide or other partners can provide, but also in hopes of waking up the NIMBYs.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you who don't know what that NIMBY is, that's the not in my backyard people. Waking them up and understanding that there's more to this that needs to be addressed. What that looks like, I invite any public official that wants to sit down of the 36 municipalities we serve in and discuss what that looks like. Our door is wide open. We're in the trenches. And if you're in the trenches, all the better. If you're not, we can tell you what that's like.
Absolutely. Yep.
And how are the sleeper bus programs expanding this year?
A lot of it's going to depend on municipalities that welcome us in.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things.
So you can't just do it. You have to get.
Well, you can and you can't. I mean, here's the thing. A church, as a 501c3 religious organization, can do just about anything on their property. Okay. So this would be no different. Me parking the bus for overnight shelter would be no different than a church opening their doors for a hurricane or cold weather. Okay. It's not permanent housing. It's not permanent shelter. However, sometimes what happens is a city zoning manager comes in and says, you're not zoned for that. Well, they're not zoned for that because there is no zoning for that. Okay. The church doesn't want to fight it because they don't want to lock horns with the city.
Yeah.
So basically they're being bullied in a lot of ways to not do what they're legally allowed to do. And so, yes, we can pretty much go anywhere we want. Our preference is to, such as in Apopka, being one place that the city is open arms to us and saying, just let us know where you want to be, where you're going to be, and what have you. And so that's a huge thing. But you still have to find the host churches and what have you.
Gotcha.
Okay. And hopefully my hope is that like in each municipality, we'd have like a couple places to go where maybe we're at 3 nights one place.
Yeah.
And then across town, we're 3 nights there. That's kind of the hope.
That's ideal. And you mentioned in recent episodes that you have been approved to bring a sleeper bus here to Orange County. Is that correct?
Yeah. That just happened early December. Now, you put it in perspective, it took a year to get
it's been a conversation.
An entire year.
Lots of conversations.
A lot of conversations.
What do you think their hesitation was?
They Shelley speaking here, okay, not Matthew's Hope. I really feel like, I mean, I guess I am speaking for Matthew's Hope too, but I really feel like if you remember earlier in the year, if you were anywhere in Orange County, there was a huge fight over this building that already existed that they wanted to make a shelter. And I just feel like when it comes right down to it, people don't really want a shelter. But but they also don't want homeless people on the street. So what's the solution?
Right. Yeah.
And so I really think that that the county going through that process of watching what was happening with the shelter and seeing people push back, and as Scott said, county managers coming in and saying, "Well, you're not zoned for that." Well, okay, so where's the? So many times I feel like our public officials want to call out what's wrong, but don't want to call out the solution.
Or will it cost me votes?
Right.
And I think here's what I find is that I would say one of them, go ahead and first off, why did you get into public service? Why did you choose to be a taxpayer funded public servant? Why did you choose to do that? That's a choice. And most of them would say, well, I chose because I felt I could bring something to the table.
Sure.
Then bring it to the table.
Right.
The challenge you have is people that support things like caring for the homeless are a very compassionate, quiet crowd.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are against it are very loud and verbal and typically have means that a lot of people don't have to place that battle into things. But bottom line is your vote still counts.
Yep.
Yes.
The interesting thing about what happened in Orange County earlier this year, or last year, I guess, it's been over a year, but right about a year, right?
It's been just about
January,
a year,
probably about January last year. What was interesting about it was, again, that was part of the jail system. So the people that were being in this building to begin with were probably technically worse than the ones they wanted to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what was interesting is when it was all said and done, they found out a lot of the NIMBYs that showed up didn't even live near that place.
Right.
But they all gathered together to make this big noise.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's when you hear stupidity show its best when it talks about euthanizing homeless people as a possible solution to this. So, unfortunately, to this point, the part of the law that's was supposed to, when HB 1365 was to move forward, it was presented in such a way that this will force people into services. Well, one, the services don't exist. The second thing was that there be encampments that would be put together with the county and the cities working together that would be built out, and they would have running water and mental health care and addiction counseling and all these things. But then the next thing on that was it couldn't couldn't be there for more than a year. The infrastructure itself would keep that from happening.
Yeah.
So it made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And here we are. So I'm hoping this is a stepping stone to, again, for us to connect people with services that we do or our partners do, but also open some eyes that the truth is most of these homeless folks are completely harmless.
Yeah.
And those that might be harmful are typically mentally ill, and we need to address that.
Definitely.
We need to invest money more into mental health.
Yeah. What do you anticipate will be the biggest challenge for Matthews Hope in 2026?
Sure. Will we ever get our transitional housing built in Brevard?
Yeah. I mean, that's been a 3-year process. Yeah. Think of how many people we could have housed. I mean, and again, it was like the line keeps getting moved every time we get close, but we think we'll get it done in the next 6 months. Things are, you get to the point where you run out of lines to move. I think the biggest challenge is going to be for us are two. We're underfunded, we're understaffed, and how do we address that? Because you can only add staff if you have money, and you can only have money if you have supporters. And you can only have supporters if they have a little extra left over just trying to survive themselves. I mean, that's the reality we're living in right now.
Yeah. And how do you anticipate the homeless crisis in Central Florida will evolve in 2026?
I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Though I will say that the county working with us as far as approving and making it financially feasible to put our first sleeper bus into motion is a step. There's a couple other things the county and Orange County has done that can help this, but it's kind of like throwing a marble into the ocean. Yes, it's going to make a splash when it hits, and it's going to make a difference for a little small area, but it's going to take more than that. It's going to take more of the public and private sector coming together. But it's also, the challenge where the county really gets their money is what comes down through HUD and that through the feds.
Okay.
And so, the feds are going to have to, so far, nothing's really changed for the entire first year of the Trump administration as far as what are we going to do to address homelessness.
Right.
Okay. So that's, and it's funny where sometimes say, well, that's the county's problem or that's the state's problem. Well, again, that money comes from feds first.
Right.
So you're kind of like saying, well,
everybody's problem.
It's their fault, but we're not going to give the money. Then the money was raised in there. So it's politics.
Passes it around. Yeah.
And how are you planning to adapt to the changing demographics of homelessness in 2026?
Same way we always have. We just shift. We are really good at Matthew's Hope shifting. And, I will also say we've also been really good at making sure when we shift, we make sure we do it with excellence.
Mm-hmm. It's, the demographic has changed constantly since I started this thing 16 years ago. When I started, it was 1 in 10 was a female. Now over 1/3 is a female.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, we saw some older people. Today, over 35% of all first-time homeless people, first time being homeless, registering with us, is a baby boomer.
Wow.
Or is it Gen?
Gen X. Yeah.
Gen X.
I'm Gen X.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the one right past mine? I'm a baby boomer. What's the old? But I'm ahead of mine.
I'm not good at those.
There's a name for it, but
so you're 63, so the older
it's 60 to 100.
Oh, okay.
That I understand.
I don't.
Okay, there's a name for it after you get past the 80 something years old. But the point being is that we're a catch and release program. We catch people, we keep them up to 2 years. We help them rebuild their financial situation. We deal with legal issues, medical issues. We do all that cleaning up, help them get that done with the idea that we release them fully independent, self-sufficient. How do you do that with someone in their 60s and 70s, 80 years old? Wow. So we don't have an answer yet, but we have spent a lot of conversations since the end of last year and the first of this year is what does that look like?
Cruising.
What's it look like? I'll give you an example. I've got one of our guys who's really good that I have in a hotel right now. And the reason I don't have him in our housing yet is because he had 4 strokes. Now, the 4 strokes, he does not have a history of strokes. Those 4 strokes happened in a 2-month period. So clearly something was happening with his body at that time. However, it puts concern into our medical team. What happens if this individual were to have a stroke living in our house?
Yeah, we're not equipped for that.
And we're kind of going like, now, I'm not sure we're equipped for anything, but it's trying to figure out what would you do? And I don't know that I certainly don't have an answer yet. So we have that. We're having people that have various medical issues that we can't be their full-time caregiver. Yeah. Our healthcare team can certainly help and do those things, but we can't become their caretaker. So there's things we're looking at is what does that look like to help someone get into some type of assisted living? Or do we look at some additional housing that would be used as not assisted living, but living with an assist, simply meaning someone checked on them on occasion to make sure they did certain things. We're seeing families that you bring in, and yes, we can bring them into our housing, and as long as they're in our program, we can give them stable housing. We can they'll work, they're actually paying for it, what have you, and all that kind of stuff. But then how do you release them? Because they can't qualify. They're a place where they can pay the rent. They can't qualify.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at partners, independent owners. I have more success in Brevard than Orange County. We have some folks that own properties that allow us to rent and work through that. But again, it's still Matthew's Hope that's taking the ultimate risk of renting another facility.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if it doesn't work out or whatever, then what do you do? Mm-hmm. So, I think that the best thing for us is we just maintain who we are. Mm-hmm. And we have all these years figured that out. And we're going to figure this out too.
Yeah. You guys do adjust very well. And what was the saying you always say when something new comes to you and you guys haven't experienced it before?
Well, we haven't seen that one
I
yet.
haven't seen that one before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what we're really good at is, some organizations worry about what they call scope creep. And it means your mission is your scope here. And don't let this stuff creep into it. I was warned about this years ago, and our scope is homelessness. That gives us a pretty wide, broad area to work with. And we didn't say we're just doing domestic violence, or we're just doing veterans, or we're just doing, fathers with single fathers with children. There's 1,000 places you can go. We do all those things. So the good news is when we sit down with someone, we see something we've never seen. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, no, we don't deal with that.
Yeah.
We go, there's one I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what we can do. And in most cases, honestly, we figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few, sometimes it's just like, there's just not an answer, at least in our current situation, our current resources that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just got to tell people that.
Yeah.
I pulled every string I know to pull.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before closing, is there anything that you guys want to add?
Keep us in prayer.
Sure.
Keep us in prayer. If you have ideas, look, I love it when people will share with us that ideas and thoughts. A lot of times, I just don't get mad at us. We don't do it. But if you see something, maybe you see or have an idea we hadn't thought of before.
Mm-hmm.
We're listening. I want to encourage people this year, as we go into the new year, to be more participant in our podcast. In other words, send us your questions. Send us the hard questions.
Yeah.
What do you want to know? There's nothing we're afraid to talk about. At least me. Shelley's afraid to talk about some of it, but she'll quietly whisper it in, and I'll just say it out loud. But we want to encourage people to let this it really does take a village to do it right.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you both, and thank you for watching and listening. Please like, share, send those questions in. It's going to be another big year for you guys and a lot of ups and downs. So they really need the community to come and back them up as well. So let's do that. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thanks.